To make our Jasper Johns inspired painting, we first need to draw out our composition, and we're going to do that on some watercolor paper. So here are actually the things that you're going to need for this. You're going to need an 8 by 10 inch piece of watercolor paper. You're going to need a pencil and an eraser if you think. You're going to need a ruler, and if you're in my class, we're going to be using the clear School Smart rulers. Okay, there and there. You're going to notice that they have a little red mark over here on the right hand side. And you're also going to need some large stencils. These are found in my classroom as well. If you happen to be doing this from home, excuse me, there will be a link where you can print out some numbers, and if you hold them on top of the paper up again, just trace them out on the paper. But the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to make a 1/4 inch border around our paper. Okay, so if you're in my class and you're using the School Smart rulers, you can see that I have marked a 1/4 inch on the ruler, and we're going to be using that to mark all around our paper, and then we're going to connect all those lines. So the way that this is going to work is like this. Let me just zoom in a little bit so you can kind of see how this is going to work here. Okay, so I'm starting at the top of my paper here, and I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to take this black line here where notice I have it a little ways down, okay? And wherever that little red mark is, I'm just going to make a little mark right there, okay? Now the cool things about this ruler is I can flip it over this way, backwards. I'm going to do the same thing, but on the right hand side now. So now my measurement is starting over here. I'm going to put that up against my paper, and wherever that little red mark is, I'm going to make a little mark right there, okay? Now I'm going to do the same thing on the bottom part of my paper. Flip it back over right side. Down here at the bottom, again, make sure you're not doing it on the edge. Make sure you're up a little bit, so you're not marking down here. You're marking up here, okay? Right there above that little red mark. That's the 1/4 inch mark, and then I'm just going to go back down again, right around here. Okay, here's my beginning, and here's my red, just like that. Okay. All right, so now I can connect those lines, but be careful because you don't want them to touch the edges. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to line my ruler up, okay, and I'm just going to start where my red mark is, making sure that I can see these two markings that I made, just peeking over. Okay, I'm going to start where that red mark is. I'm just going to come down a little ways, but I'm going to stop before I get to the edge. Okay, well, we're going to measure that 1/4 here in just a little bit. We do the same thing on the bottom. And don't forget to stop the video. If you think I'm going too fast in the video, stop it so you can go back and rewind and watch what I've done. Okay, again, I'm lining the ruler up with the measurement starting on the left side. I'm going to start where the red mark is with my line against my ruler. But I'm going to stop before I get to the edge a little bit, like that. I'm going to leave a little space right there, okay? All right, now, let's flip it back. Let's leave it horizontal. Now we're going to measure a 1/4 inch from the outside inward again. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to mark it along that line. So you can see actually where I started on the left is already marked for me, so that's good. But I'm going to flip this over now down here, and I'm going to make sure I have a 1/4 of a mark coming in right there. So I'm going to make a little mark right here, okay? But look what I'm going to do. I'm going to connect. If there was a line that didn't get down that far, I'm going to connect it just like that, okay? Let me show you how to do that again going on the bottom, okay? So along the line, take that measurement wherever it starts. First, I want to make sure my ruler is nicely lined up with the line that I drew. There we go. That measurement is starting over here on the left-hand side, and wherever that little red mark is, right above that, I'm going to make a crane. And then I'm going to flip it over now and do the same thing on the opposite end. Line my ruler up with the edge, the line that I drew. Just like that, I think. Good, okay. And over here, now my measurement is starting over here on the right-hand side, and so inside I see that little red line, so I'm going to make a little tick above that and connect any extra that may have been missing, okay? So now I've got my measurement going inward, so now I can flip my paper back around vertically, and now I'm going to connect those two lines, okay? line my ruler up with the 2 markings I made and make my line like that. Let's do the other side, same way. My ruler, line it up with my 2 markings. And now I'm going to make a line between the 2 lines. Okay, so there is my 1/4 of an inch border, okay, around my paper. All right. So now what I have to do is I have to get the numbers on my paper, and this is where the stencils come in. And you're going to be choosing 3 numbers. You can use 3 numbers that are important to you. For example, I'm going to do 4, 2, and 3 because my birthday is April, which is the 4th month, and it's on the 23rd day of April. So I'm going to do 4, 2, 3. Okay, so I've got the 3 right here. Here's my 4. I'm going to find my 2, which is, should have had it out, right here. Okay, all right. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the 3. Let me show you how this is going to work. So we want our numbers to try to fit inside this border that we drew. So you're going to take your stencil and you can go ahead and lay it down, and you want to make sure if I see anything poking out, like right down here at the bottom, for example, I want to make sure that I kind of push that up. And if I see it happening here, well, then I want to kind of push it back down. I want to kind of make it even, so I may not be able to get it within there completely. Then I want to kind of move it over and make sure that I'm not showing any of the outside edges, which I'm not. So I'm just going to even the space between down here and up here. Make sure it's kind of straight up and down vertically like that. Okay, there we go. Okay, and now I'm going to trace. So I'm going to hold it down carefully, and I'm not going to go outside the line. I'm going to start just inside the border line right here. And so I'm just going to kind of go around, go very gently. Stop right about there. But from this border, I'm going to start going up. You want to make sure that you keep your pencil along the edge of the stencil. I made a little mess up right there, but I can erase that a little bit later. Okay, so now I'm going to work on this opposite side. Keeping my pencil touching to the, going very slowly if I need to. And just go ahead and do this. And around like that, okay? So there is my 3. I can put that to the side. If you wanted some added interest, if you feel like you maybe have too many curves going this way, you can always reverse the numbers. I'm going to reverse the numbers because I think it adds a cool kind of interest to it. And again, I'm looking at the bottom and the top, and it looks like I'm going to have to just center this a little bit. I think I'm going to go right about there. Excuse me, it's pretty straight. That looks pretty good. So I'm going to start right there. So here's my border up here. So I'm just going to go around this, and do the other side. Here. To break up, this is going to give us lots of different shapes to paint inside. And here's my 4, and I'm going to place it. I got to look now on the edges because it's peeking out over the left and right edge. So I want to even that right about there we go. Okay. And now I'm going to trace out my 4. This is the step you want to be very mindful with how you place your numbers and how you trace them out. If you try to do this too fast, your numbers might move around and such. So you want to be very careful how you do this. And there we go. And now I've got some really nice spaces. I can still see the numbers, but I've got some really nice spaces to do the watercolor. And then from here, I will go on and I will do different opacities using harmonious colors, which we'll talk about in the next video.